Okay, so project 3, assignment 3 is this isometric illustration. So we've been working in grids the last couple weeks, and so you've already been introduced a little bit about how to make, for example, an isometric grid. Our next project is going to be making what we're going to call an isometric utopia. And so let me share with you a little bit about what that is. So we have, we're going to be creating your utopia. The isometric design is originally used for technical designs and architecture. This objective of project 3 is going to be to learn the fundamentals of working in the isometric perspective, developing an isometric sketch, learn how to develop your design on an isometric grid, converting flat shapes into perspective views, working with different stroke weights, how to easily change colors in the entire piece, and learn how to use the actions tool in Illustrator. So let's talk about isometric design. So far, we've been using
Can I look
geometric
at the
design
top first?
to make, excuse me a minute. Did you have a question, Max?
Yes. Will this be available on Blackboard?
It's already available. It turned it on already. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for the question. So isometric design, so far we've been using illustration, very geometric shapes and abstractions. Okay, we're going to now take geometric design and move it into something more representational. So here's some examples of isometric designs that are using buildings, objects, products. Here's examples of building layouts, type, and buildings that are typography that's been turned into buildings. Examples of single story, buildings that are built off of the isometric design cube. It's really everything built off the cube. Those of you who are big fans of Minecraft are familiar with it. Here's an example of a floating layout. Shoot, what's the name? I forget now the name of the game that I downloaded on my phone to play with isometric designs. Oh my gosh, now I can't remember what it's called. Oh, why can't I remember? Oh, it's going to come to me later. I should have pulled it up during our break and reminded myself of it. I don't see it on my phone because I don't play it very often. Oh well, it'll come to me. There's a little game you can download on your phone. It's all like kind of floating cities made out of isometric buildings. There's the city block layout, building examples again. Here's some examples of cityscapes. So again, as you can see, isometric design really lends itself to places. And so we're going to be looking at how to create our utopia. Now, is your utopia living in a city? Is your utopia living in a fantasy world? Like this one down here is like a teapot and tea saucers and coffee and milk cartons. Is your utopia floating in outer space? Is your utopia a single building? So what is your utopia? What are you really lending yourself to? So there's lots of different ways to approach this. There's not one way. And it's something to think about, like, what does it mean to be in a utopia? Who can tell me, what do we mean by utopia?
Like an ideal place, kind of.
Exactly, an ideal place. What would be like, and it can be fantasy, it can be reality. Last semester I had a student do a mid-century modern house because they, being in a modern mid-century house. I had someone do an outer space house. I had someone do Monument Valley. Oh, thank you, Yari. I couldn't remember what it was. Monument Valley, that's the game. Thank you. I was like, gosh, I can't remember what it's called, but yes, if you guys have a chance, download Monument Valley. It is a really fun game to play, and it all is isometric design and very fanciful. So it's really fun. The idea is to have fun, okay? It can be anything. Last semester, I had someone make their isometric thing out of a place. They turned to like a speaker system and a record player and into like a house or a building, and they were having like living in music. So it can be really, I implore you to be as, you know, out there thinking. I want the sky's the limit. It can be anything. It can be, someone else did one where it was like in a forest and the homes were built out of trees. And it was kind of like almost a Star Wars Ewok village. So, so lots of different choices, and it's a lot of fun to kind of think about. So that's why I'm giving you this, I'm kind of sharing and introducing you to this today, because we're going to start with sketching and thinking about what we need to come up with. And so I've given you custom sketch paper. So on Blackboard in Project 3 assignment folder, you're going to see a file called Isometric Paper PDF. And I just opened it up. It looks like this. It's just a grid paper. Seriously, nothing more than that. It's just a grid paper and isometric. You have to use it in this orientation. So be aware, because of it, the qualities of isometric design, you can't turn this sideways because it's no longer, then it turns into a hexagonal shape. So you have to use it in this formation. So I want you to print this out and print out a few sheets of it, just in black and white. And this is what you're going to sketch on. So we're going to be doing 2 sketches of what your isometric utopia can be. And then we're going to share them on Tuesday. We're going to share our 2 design sketches. So this is an example. It doesn't have to be overly detailed, and you just draw along the lines on the sketch paper. So you want to be sure to use the paper in the portrait orientation only for it to work correctly. And here's one that I did. And mine was, for example, just a building that's floating. So I did a floating design. So mine is a floating, like kind of castle-y building, kind of Monument Valley-esque, I think. And and just have fun with it. I mean, you don't have to spend a ton of time on the sketches, but I want you to have fun and be curious and playful. And there's so many examples of isometric design out there that there's lots of places to get inspired by. I do want you to be aware that I don't want to see you copying something that's out there. There is a lot out there, and I am pretty aware of what's out there. And I also do look at image searches and things. I want you to kind of really come up with your own creative vision for this. Really think anything, it can be anything. So have fun with the playfulness of it. So you're going to take the paper, print it out, and you're going to sketch on it. That's exactly what I did here. And I'm not going to go into the next day because this is as far as we're going to go on it today. So the idea here for this next assignment is to start thinking of your utopia and what that might be. And next, print out the sketch paper, and you're going to come with you back to class next Tuesday with 2 or more. You can have more, but at least 2 sketches of where you want to go with your utopia on the grid paper. We're going to then take that and bring them into the computer, and then I'm going to walk you through how to build these on our paper. So, I mean, in Illustrator. So we're going to start with thinking about our utopia and doing 2 sketches and have that ready for Tuesday. I know that's a lot, but I have all of this on, just FYI, I have all of this on Blackboard. So I'm on Blackboard right now. This is the Utopia lecture that you can look back on. I'm going to go here. So here's the Utopia lecture. Under resources is where you're going to find the grid paper. So the isometric grid paper is here under resources. Don't worry about these other 2. That's for when we get into Illustrator. So right now you want to download the isometric grid paper in the resources folder. The lecture I just shared is right there. And there's the assignment again. I'm just walking you through up until this point, phase 1. We're just going to phase 1, and we'll kind of talk more about it next week. So I'm not going to get further into it than that. So right now it's just thinking about what your utopia is, and then creating 2 sketches using the paper that I'm providing the grid paper I'm providing to draw on so that it helps you. And I would recommend using a pencil and a dark pencil so you can really see it, because we are going to need to photograph it and put it into Illustrator. So you want to make sure you're not drawing too light. Make sure you're drawing light enough, dark enough, or using like a number 2 or darker pencil. Don't use like an H pencil or something like that. That is too light. All right, so question and answer time. Yeah, and if you get a chance to play Monument Valley, awesome game, super fun. Those of you that are fans of Minecraft, of course, Minecraft is all isometric. Yep, Max, go ahead.
So we combine, so one more time, we combine all of our, all 10 of our designs into one super design, right?
One poster.
One poster, got it.
Mhm.
I will look into project 3 and come up with 2 sketches. And then I will also get the discussion done today.
Awesome. Excellent. Yes, don't forget about the discussion. We have
One more.
it's our last discussion. Yeah, we're down to our last discussion and then we're done with discussions. So we only had 4. This week's our last discussion. Thank you for reminding me, Max. I appreciate it. So don't forget, you have one more discussion and then we're done with discussions. And we're jumping into Utopia and we're finishing up geometric grids. So there's a lot to do this week. But I know you're all up for it and you're all doing amazing, and reach out as needed to get that feedback. Yes, Liz, I see your hand up.
For the geometric project, I saw that the examples had like words on it as well.
Yes.
Are we doing that as well?
Yep, we are.
Okay, so it has to have like one word.
One word.
On,
Yep.
on them.
And it's
Okay.
your choosing, whatever you want it to say.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Good question. And let me pull that up in front and just kind of remind you, share my screen again one more time as we're kind of wrapping up to make sure we're all aware where you can find the project brief to make sure you're on, if you have any questions about exactly what we're doing. So geometric, here we go. The project brief is up here at the top. And we go down, oops, sorry, right before the examples. Here it is. Finalizing your designs. After you've finished developing and styling your designs, spend some time finalizing them by closely inspecting them, fixing any issues you might find. Proof your work, in other words. Make sure you're proofing your work. You're going to be creating a poster with 9 or more of your final geometric tiles. I encourage you to use Recolor Artwork feature to create a uniform color palette for all the tiles you'll be including in your final poster. Your final poster is 11 by 17, and it's due next week. You're going to, of course, include your name in your layout, and then you're going to be creating a poster with one word incorporated. That kind of speaks to, whatever you feel like. You can be as simple as saying geometry, or you can say like what this design is kind of, I think this one is transcend. It's like, what does it make you feel? This one was kind of referencing Bauhaus. And so she was going blah, like kind of as a reference to Bauhaus. And then at one point she was like Blahhaus. I'm like, yeah, we might not want to do that, but it was a lot of fun. So any other questions about the geometry project or our Utopia project as we're kind of wrapping up? Okay, stop our recording.